to the dragon, and about what plastics are, and then it goes through a bunch of fires. Really interesting stuff. Another book I want you to think about is there's a concept of we can have all of our tactics and knowledge intact, right? Where do they reside? Anybody know? In our brains. Where's it reside? It's a certain part of our brain, the frontal lobe, right? A cortex, frontal cortex. So it's all there. Right now, if I ask you a question, that's where you're going to go to access the information, right? But when you're on a fire and things are starting to ramp up, that frontal cortex just starts to shut down, right? It's different for all of us, all right? But when you really ramp up and you go to that midbrain, that amygdala, guess what? You can't access that information at all. My job didn't understand that. And what we were seeing was you could have a 30-year member, tons of experience, and yet they're making some bad decisions on the fireground. Well, why are we having members with a PSS that we spent in excess of probably $35 million to outfit everybody and train everybody, and they're jumping out windows and they didn't even go for their hook? And it's not training. The members have been trained, and they continue training. So what we found was that there's a mental component to all this, and you'll see it. I'm sure there's going to be classes in the next couple days about mental performance. Our job went down a road looking at the Mental Performance Initiative. And one of the books they asked us to read was called On Combat, Lieutenant Dave Grossman. I'll write that down, Lieutenant Dave Grossman. Tremendous book. And there's a bunch of other ones out there. But in Dave Grossman's book, right, when we talk about fire dynamics, he talks about, and there's a lot of analogies that you'll see probably in the next couple of days about the battleground, right, in the military, and the fireground in the fire service, right? And there are a lot of connecting dots, okay? Time pressure, situation, a mission, a goal, a dedication to accomplishing your mission. However, in his book, this is what he states. He says, on the battleground, your adversary is the most intelligent creature on the face of the earth, who is actively trying to deceive you and kill you. All right? Pretty interesting statement. I thought about that for a while. So now, let's think of the fire ground. Is the fire doing that? Is the fire actively trying to deceive you and kill you? Right? When we say the fire is looking for oxygen, is it? Is it? Does it have eyes? Does it have a mind? No. It's an inanimate object that is reacting to the world around you. What we just learned and watched here is that inanimate object reacting to the things we're doing to it. So in the end of the day, although there are connections between the battlefield and the fireground, there's also this glaring difference. That adversary on the battleground is a human being. A fire is not. And hopefully what we just kind of went over explains to you that there are times we can control a number of things. Not everything. You're not going to be able to control everything. There are unforeseen things that happen. There are alterations. There are things that we didn't expect to happen. I get that. But then there's a whole bunch of other things we can control. And ventilation being the number one, and especially with our modern fire, and understanding that air ratio and that energy that's stored in that synthetic product. That if we don't do the right thing, if we don't coordinate that attack, if we don't, size the building up, if we don't read the smoke, we may make bad decisions. And that really what this all comes down to is, in the end, hopefully that information, knowledge is power. That knowledge that you have now, hopefully, though you may have had it already, but if you didn't, that's great. Now you have something that's going to help you make better decisions. I know from my personal perspective, I am a much better officer and a much better firefighter with this information and the decisions I can make in those moments. And when it comes back to that mental performance, you got to have tools, and that's really what our job is trying to do. Teach our people. Listen, you're going to ramp up. If you don't ramp up in a fire, there's something wrong with you. You should be ramped up. You're going to perform better ramped up, but you go off the back of the curve, as they say. That's not good, and that's where tactical breathing and imagery and things like that come into play. So if you see any classes of that in the next couple of days, I highly recommend sitting on. There's really good stuff. But that main component about that fire reacting as an inanimate object to the world around it, you got to understand that.